Hey everybody, what's up? So I want to go over why I do not believe the stoning of Stephen in Acts chapter 7 was the last day of Daniel's 70th week. I just had a conversation with somebody online a couple days about this, and it just kind of went in one ear and out the other what I told them. So I'm going to go over why basically I share with them what I believe was the last day. I didn't really get into specifics why I did not believe Stephen was the last day. So that's the purpose of this video. So, so the stoning of Stephen, what I believe what led to the final days of the Jews coming to Christ, wrapping up the 70th week. If we look at, first of all, I believe there has to be contrast between the Jew versus Gentiles. The Jew coming to Christ, and then boom, the Gentiles come to Christ. There has to be contrast there. So Acts 7 has to do with the Jewish people. Alrighty. And if we look at the very next chapter, we're still dealing with the Jewish people. Alrighty. So a man named Simon and Peter told him that you have nothing to do with this. Basically, he was baptized but he not experienced regeneration, which flies in the face of a lot of people who believe that the act of baptism itself regenerates. You clearly see it's not dependent on what man does. It's totally dependent on God's mercy. But anyway, we're still dealing with Jews here. Acts chapter 8 occurred after Acts 7. I believe it's chronological. So we're still dealing with the Jewish people here. So even Acts chapter 8 cannot be the last day yet. And then if we go to Acts 9, we're still dealing with Jewish people, Saul, and who eventually become the apostles of Gentiles. Okay, which is kind of an introduction to into Acts 10. Acts 8 is also kind of an introduction as well, because the eunuch, he's from Ethiopia, and so he was a Hellenistic Jew, and so he came to Jerusalem to worship, and he didn't really know the scriptures that well, but yeah, so it's kind of evolved. So it starts with Acts chapter 7, and it just kind of evolved from there to finally Acts 10, Gentiles scene. So hope that makes sense. So anyway, Acts 10, where finally the Cornelius household, the Gentile household, they're not Hellenistic Jews. They're actually Gentiles who were involved with the Jewish people and their practices. So it's kind of the opposite of a Hellenist Jew. It's a true Gentile who was involved in the practices of the Jewish people, whereas the Hellenist Jew, the true Jew, but adopts Greek culture. So they're kind of opposite each other. So anyway, so it's obvious from reading that Cornelius was made clean before he heard the gospel. All right. It also again showed that the act of baptism itself does not mean it's going to regenerate. So he gets baptized towards the end of the chapter. But anyway, so if you go to my timeline, I work at precision level down to the hour. So I recorded the 9th hour of Acts 10, 30 to 33, and verses 3 through 9, okay? And so I figured it had to happen around Tishri, okay, the Yom Teruah. And so it happened that this is exactly 3.5 years later, with the 9th hour, Jesus Christ died on the cross. It's on a Wednesday, and this was on a Wednesday, 3.5 years later. It's the same day of the week. And then exactly 3 days, 3 nights later, then on Tishri 6, Cornelius is waiting to hear from Peter for the gospel, 9th hour. Exactly 3.5 years earlier, Jesus had have risen from the dead 72 hours later from his death. So remember, he's about the 2 day, 2 night prophecy. That's 72 hours, and we're to work with the precision down to the hour. Remember, Jesus said What verse is it? Yeah, John 11:9, 12 hours a day. So we have to work at the level of precision that Jesus gave us. And that's because I worked at that level of precision, then I was able to see, oh, wow, the significance of this. So anytime the Bible records something down to the hour, it is something very significant. So what's the significance of this, that he put down the hour? This is the introduction to Gentiles coming on the scene. And so the promise to Abraham that be a father of many nations took off. And so that was on Tishri 6, Saturday, Sabbath. Cornelius waiting for the 9th hour. So this was the last day. Actually, Tishri 5, I believe, was the last day. Tishri 6 is when it finally goes to the Gentiles. This is the day after the last day of Daniel's 70th week. So I believe Tishri 5 of AD 33 was the last day of it, where God came to Jews. That was their final day. And Tishri 6 is where it goes to the Gentiles. And so, but it's significant. The 3 days, 3 nights, 72 hours, the parallel, exactly 3.5 years apart. That is the difference between the beginning of the last half 70th week and the very end of the 70th week. And then, of course, you go to the very beginning. Jesus was baptized on Tishri 6. So from Tishri 6 of AD 26 to Tishri 6. So the day Jesus was baptized on Tishri 6 of AD 26, exactly 7 years later in the Hebraic calendar, the Gentiles get baptized for the first time. Exactly 7 years later to the day in the Hebraic calendar. Alrighty, so I certainly respect those who think Stephen died in that, or the day of his death was the last day, but I have to beg to disagree. I think it led up to that, and again, Acts 8 dealing with Jewish people, Acts 9 dealing with Jewish people. It isn't until Acts 10 where we're finally getting the Gentiles, so it had to wrap up at that time. You have to have that contrast with the Jews versus Gentiles. That's my take. So anyway, I think it's pretty cool that it works out. It all centered around the Yom Teruah. So John the Baptist, that explains why he would call them to repent. It fit the Jewish feast of the Yom Teruah. And so otherwise, if he's doing it outside of the Yom Teruah, then he'd be kind of a lunatic. Not really a lunatic, but Jonah, he did call the people in Nineveh to repent, okay? But whether that was on Yom Teruah or not, I don't know. But he did it within the context of their feast days, alrighty? Calling them to repent, alrighty? Anyway, so that's why I do not believe the death of Stephen that day was the last day of Daniel's 70th week. It led up to it until Acts 10. So those are just my thoughts. Anyway, thank you very much, and hope you continue to enjoy your studies. Thank you.